Welcome back to the Two Months Podcast presented by Shadified Salon and Barbershop. I am your host, Joshua Marshall, and I'll be joined very shortly by our guest. He is the color commentator for the Edmonton Oilers. He is back with us. He is a legend in every aspect of everything. It's crazy when you post something that Stauffer's joining on a pod. It goes crazy and goes pretty viral. So yeah, Bob Stauffer will be our guest very shortly. And yeah, we're just looking forward to kind of breaking things down, all things NHL, and obviously some heavy Oilers content. Oilers are a bit struggling right now, and a few other teams are too. So we'll break a few things down in that aspect with Staff here very shortly. But we have some cool announcements to make, so I just want to kind of get on real quick before we get Bob into the mix here. And so we have an event coming up here on November 25th. That's Monday, November 25th here in Edmonton. It's at St. Church. You can find all the details at our website. If you go to the 2 Months Podcast website, 2monthspodcast.com, click in the donation section. You'll see that we're doing a pretty cool fundraiser. We're going to raise money for the Child Advocacy Center, which is / the Sheldon Kennedy Center of Excellence in Red Deer. That's a place that we've worked with in the past and continue to work with. So we're going to donate 50% of the proceeds there, and then the other 50% of the proceeds are going to go to Kids Sport Alberta, and we're going to raise some great money for a good cause and a mental health cause and positive team culture. So this will be the Power Play Advantage for positive team culture and mental health awareness. This is open to any kids, pretty much from the age of 8 to 17. So if you have any kids in that age group, if you play hockey, play football, baseball, basketball, soccer, anything, if you have any of those kids playing in any of those sports, even if you're in dance, gymnastics, music, theater, we'll even open up to all that stuff as well too for some great mental health conversations. We have Tyler Smith, who will be our keynote speaker. So we're looking forward to having him on. Tyler Smith is a Humboldt Broncos alumni, and he is also a winner of the Amazing Race Canada. So great to have him aboard. He's been on with us before. Elliot Freeman from Hockey Night Canada and the 32 Thoughts podcast. We're going to fly him in to host this event, so he'll be helping out with that. And we'll have a hot stove at the end of the night with some pretty good guests. Matt DeMossack from MindBus. So they're partnering with us in getting this event going. So we're looking forward to our partnership with MindBus. We've worked with them in the past and continue to work with them. So he'll be a part of it. And we have some special guests from the NHL circle. So some general managers, some players, some current players, former players joining us on the hot stove. And then Matt DeMossack will be on there as well too. So very excited to have them a part of this journey. So it's going to be pretty sweet, and we're looking forward to it. It's something that's been near and dear to my heart, and I came up with and thought about this idea in May, and kind of bounced it off a few people, and it's been pretty good. It's it's gained some traction. So even if you're looking at sponsoring this event, just reach out to us. We've have a few sponsors already. So that's Appana Hockey, MindBus. We have MSC Rentals. So looking forward to kind of having them a part of us too there. And then also Sheena Boychuk Real Estate. So Sheena Boychuk's been sponsoring our podcast for the last year, going on to the second year with that. So she's been very helpful and very great to have, all these great, amazing sponsors on, and we're looking forward to adding some more. There's been some conversations of some other sponsors joining in. So we're pretty excited to get that going. And speaking of sponsors, we're back with Manscaped. So you can sign up here at manscaped.com and use promo code 2monthspod. That's 2monthspod, and you'll get 20% off your order. That's at manscaped.com. We're also a Shadified Salon and Barbershop. They have 3 locations in the city of Edmonton. So they're downtown, the north side, and Ellerslie. So tell them the 2 Months Podcast sent you. They are the also official barber of the Edmonton Oilers. There's Marta Lou Barbershop in Calgary. They are the official barber of the Calgary Flames too. So we have them. So they got the one location in Calgary. That's Nick and his team at Marta Lou, and then that's Shaddy and his boys in his team at Shadified. So I know Stauffer goes there very often, and so do I. So I'll be going there actually tomorrow and getting all freshened up for the weekend and all that fun jazz. So we're looking forward to kind of having that. And then Sheena Boychuk Real Estate as well. Realty by Design, your design approach to real estate. So thanks to Sheena for joining us. You can check her website out at sheenaboychuk.com. Yeah, if you guys are looking at listing or buying or selling any homes, getting in the rental market or looking to purchase a new place, definitely reach out to Sheena. She'll take care of you and all your needs there. Yeah, so we're looking forward to this event. It's going to be a pretty fun event. It's gaining more traction as the day goes on and as the days keep trucking along here. So we have about 4 weeks, 5 weeks out before we have it. So yeah, we're very excited. And again, if you guys are looking to sponsor, that would be amazing. And if not, it's all good too. The donation is a $20 donation for signing up. So it's $20 per person. The link is on our website at the donation button. So just click on there. Yeah. So if you're looking to sign up, and if you're looking to sign up your team, just reach out to us before you fully sign up. We have built-in team prices. But right now it's $20 per person. If you're just looking up to sign up, you're one of your kids or two of your kids. But if you have a team in mind and it's in any point of any teams, in all the sports that we have, just reach out to us. We have a package for that as well. So before you go too far into the realm of signing up, so check out to that. We have a few teams that have signed up, so we will give you the same pricing that we gave them. And then on the night of the event, there will be people from the Child Advocacy Center and Kids Sport Alberta. So if you want to donate more than the $20 or the $10 or whatever you donate, there will be people there to take those donations on that night. And we're looking forward to having this yearly event. This will be something we do every year, and it's going to be pretty sweet. I keep repeating that, but it's going to be a really fun event. It's going to be really educational for all their youth players in the city, and there'll be some tools that they can use as they go through what they're going through, and knowing that there's someone always there for them. So thank you for helping out with that, as our sponsors are, and Mind Bus as well too. So without further ado, let's get to our interview with Bob Stauffer right now. Lots fans, our next guest is a color commentator for the Edmonton Oilers. You can find him on the Oilers Radio Network and Rogers Sportsnet during the regional coverage as well. We'd like to welcome back to the 2 Months Podcast. We got Bob Stauffer. Stauffer, how's it going?
Not bad, Josh. Personally, it's going okay. Obviously, nobody's super happy with a 2-4-1 start. It is early, and I'm sure we have lots to discuss.
Yes, we do. And as you know, full disclosure, I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, and they went 4-2 to start, and now they're 4-4, and they've had two disappointing losses back to back. But the league can come at you fast, can it, Stoff?
Well, I think it's the first time the Leafs have had back-to-back 4-goal losses since 2015.
Yeah.
So that tells you a little right there. Toronto's got a real good team. Craig Berube is a good coach. I think to me, they look like they had a little bit different identity when they played Tampa, than maybe we've seen in the past. Others might say, Stoff, we've seen this before at the start of the year. It never translates come playoff time. So we'll have to wait and see on that regard.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fascinating situation and fascinating story to watch. I don't know how much you want to take stock into the first 10 games of the season. I know if you go, 2-8, and maybe that's not the greatest, but let's start with Edmonton. I want to get your thoughts on the Flames here too, and just maybe a few other things around the National Hockey League and what Brad Marchand said today too, or kind of get your thoughts as the old school mind coach, but as you know, and even Daryl Sutter was on with Mike Fuda's show this week too, and he had some interesting comments to make that I want to get your thoughts on. And I know you know Daryl very well, but where are you at with the Oilers right now? I know the biggest news is that the power play is now changed. There's two different units, and they've broken it up a bit, and we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow night. Let's just say, well, as this podcast comes out, we'll see if those units get rolled out, but. Is it the power play reason why the record isn't where the record is, Stoff? Is that kind of your indicator, or is there other areas of this team that is a concern?
Well, three of their top six forwards have combined for 0 goals. So Zach Hyman scored 54 last year. He doesn't have any. Nuge had, I don't know what it was, 36 or 37 a couple years ago. He doesn't have any. Arvidsson's a five-time 20-goal scorer. He was brought in here to play with Leon. He doesn't have any. Um, so you look at the top six, and there's been some challenging times 5-on-5, and then they're 2 for 19 on the power play. Now the strange part about it is, as you know, Edmonton the last 2 years is the highest scoring team in the National Hockey League, and they played the second most amount of playoff games over the last 3 years. Um, Winnipeg, real good team last year, won 52 games. Had a lot of time to think about getting dispatched in the opening round, Josh, right?
Yep.
And they got a great third line, and they got a lot of their team back. I think there were a couple players that the Oilers sort of in theory thought were going to be here. They ultimately ended up getting offer sheeted by St. Louis, and they combined for 3 goals tonight. Um, but all that being said, you can say, well, they missed the speed of Holloway. They missed the speed of McLeod, who's got 4 goals in Buffalo. They missed Broberg on the back end. There's a degree of truth to that. But those guys were here last year when Edmonton started 2-9-1. They're sitting at 2-4-1. They probably should have won the game against Carolina. They didn't. Um, Jake Oettinger played great in the first 2 periods against Dallas. I think the power play will get it turned around. I know it will. It's 5 straight years over 25%. We haven't seen a team do that in 40 years in the NHL. So they'll get her going. They will score more. To be honest with you, their defensive play, really, the Philadelphia, Nashville, Dallas, Carolina game, I'm comfortable with how they played in those games. Like Dallas and Carolina are real teams.
Mm-hmm.
Those are good teams. And I think Nashville will get better as the season goes on. So, maybe a little bit more change than people thought. This is not the same team. They're going to have to do it a little bit differently. And unfortunately, when you got a skilled top six and 3 of the top 6 guys haven't broken through yet, 7 games into the season, it maybe cost you a game along the way. Like, are we having a different conversation if they beat Chicago, or a different conversation if they beat Chicago and Carolina?
Yeah.
We probably are. So, you know, I don't love the start. I have high expectations for the team. I know that the team that's here right now is not going to be the team on March the 10th. That there's going to be Stan Bowman's going to make at least one addition on defense. It's inevitable at some point that Noah Phelps is going to come up from Bakersfield. Um, and eventually Hyman and Nugent Hopkins will score. So they'll get going here. But saying that, I don't think anybody in oil country is particularly enamored or enthused with how the team started the season.
Yeah, especially because, even throughout the summer, you talked about Chris Knobloch. He has a history of starting really good anywhere he's been. So it's kind of a bit of concerning. I know Darren Dreger hit on something earlier tonight on not insider trading, but on the quiz panel for the Leafs regional broadcast, that he's really actually concerned because it's a lot more areas than just one area. I know Jeff O'Neill and Cheryl Pounder weren't concerned at all. They weren't worried too much at all. They had kind of a quiz question, and
Hmm.
Drake's kind of question saying there's a lot more here than just this. It's he thinks it's a very concerning issue for the Oilers, and it's definitely
Well,
something to
yeah,
watch.
and I, you know what? It's not that I am a little concerned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be completely dismissive and say, I just think it's a different team, and I think they're going to have to grow into the team that they are.
Yeah.
Um, but I also know that I just don't want them to go, like, in order for them to go 2-9-1 again, they'd have to lose their next 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got some very winnable games coming up, but they got to win them. And, I, their power play at critical times when they had a chance to get early up in games didn't get it done for them. And I do think the power play will come. I think, I got to be honest, all things considered with the defense beyond the first game or the first game, because, Skinner and Pickard through the first 2 games were already like -2.5 to -3 goals saved above expectation. Like there was some ugly goals given up too, but really since then, they I don't think they've been terrible defensively. They've got decent shot metrics. They outshot and outchanced Carolina the other night. Um, Freddie Anderson was terrific, but they do got to get going. So maybe I'm somewhere in the between the middle of O'Neill and Pounder, and then Drake's like somewhere
in
in
that.
the middle there, where I'm not totally freaking out, but I'm a little bit nervous.
It is. We'll see what happens here. Looks like we might have a line brawl here, Carolina,
We
Calgary.
can't be that lucky.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, some little tension brewing.
Little different era, Josh,
Exactly.
today than in
Yeah,
the past.
exactly. But yeah, as we're just watching the Flames game here. But anyways, the one thing I was wondering where you're at, I liked what Elliot said about, him talking to Kyle Burrows when he was referring to Ty Emberson. And I had the same kind of conversation with Matt Banning, and Matt kind of pretty much repeated the same thing that Elliot was saying. But where are you at with Ty's game? Do you just want to see him in the third pairing and with Kulak? Is that kind of the best spot for him? Is he a
Right now,
right
yep.
now? Yeah, yeah.
Just play him.
Okay.
Just play him, and then I would alternate Stetcher and um, Dermott with Nurse in the second. Get Darnell to carry that second pairing. Um, maybe 2 out of 3 games it's Stetcher, 1 out of 3 games it's Dermott, and then I just play Emerson, get him, start him off at 14 and a half, 15 minutes, and maybe he gets to 16, 17. He's got more game to give. He had a good start to the training camp. Then he went through a little bit of a minor foible over a couple games. It is a different market. I mean, he's playing for Chris Knobloch in Hartford, kind of came into his own there, and then San Jose got him on waivers, and there's no pressure there, right? Like
Yeah,
there's none. And the reality is, people care here, and they're on it. They're watching it all the time. I think he's going to be fine. He's just got to play. I
yeah.
think he's got to get eventually a little bit more. If he gets a little bit more confidence, I'm going to bet you we see a more assertive player, and he can show more what he's got to do. But just as I'm thinking that, maybe Noah Phelps the solution, fourth line right shot center at the 30 game mark during the season. My hope is that Emerson's put himself in a position where we're comfortable with him being a third pairing guy. Um, by the 25, 30 game mark, like we're okay, you can at least do that. And then we'll see where he goes. Like I would never necessarily limit a player. I remember Steve Stales when the Oilers signed him way back when, wasn't sure if he was a winger or defenseman, and he became a very useful, probably in a perfect world, a number 5 defenseman, played as high as 4 as an Oiler, but he was here for several years. So it's early. It gets magnified when you don't have success. I mean, how do you think Zach Hyman feels right now? Guy
Yeah.
scored 54 goals last year. He doesn't have any. So, let's see where it goes. But it's a fair question about Emerson. It is a different market than San Jose. I think he'll be fine.
He will. I believe in the player. I believe in the person, and I think he'll get through. And maybe just the expectations were just a bit too high on him coming in as the Hop, and maybe we just gotta calm those expectations down. Are you concerned that, on almost every given night stuff here, that it's going to be the same 12-6 forwards? There's no guys that you can interchange throughout the lineup. Do you think there's some flexibility that Stan Bowman can do here to, have a couple guys in the waiting, and if some guys aren't playing good, then there's interchangeable guys. Like there's a guy I look at in Utah, Michael Carconi, who's really not playing. He's played 3 games. He got 21 goals last year. I know he's a 28-year-old player. He's undrafted, and I'm not saying offense is really the issue, but maybe some speed and some depth in the organization. That's a guy that the others can look at in terms of, he had 31 goals the year before in the minors and then 21 in the National Hockey League in a limited time ice. I just wonder if there's a player there that could be had under a cheaper contract.
I think you're looking for, I do think you're looking for the potential of those type of guys. I know Stan Bowman was in Bakersfield the other night. They played Calgary. Noah Phillips scored on an absolute rocket on a setup from Seth Griffith. I think Noah was 11-1 in the faceoff circle in the game.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming, and my guess is he's probably the first call up if something happens. Matt Savoy, it's going to take a little bit longer for. Obviously, they lost Lavoie. It's interesting how that all went down, but you know, Lavoie didn't get claimed last year on waivers when he went down. Did get 7 games in with the Oilers. Um, I haven't thought about Carcone. I'd have to look into that more, but I do agree with you. I think he's a legitimate, useful support scorer at the NHL level.
Yeah, it's something maybe we can keep an eye on as the year transpires with the depth that Utah has right now, and maybe he's a player to be had in a trade in some which way down the road here. I know they got some injuries on the back end, but so where are you at with Skinner's game? I obviously what of a save, what a crazy save he had, a great call that you guys had in the broadcast booth, and even Jack probably had in the Jack had too on the TV side of things, but. Are you? I don't think I'm worried about him. I think I still am bullish on the fact that he's a goaltender that's going to probably lead Team Canada
Hmm.
in the Four Nations face off here. I just believe in it. I think he'll get to that point. I know the depth is probably not the greatest. Jordan Binnington put on performance in the mecca of all meccas in Toronto tonight, so maybe some eyes are on him. He hasn't had the greatest start, but I think Skinner can still be that player that is something that we got to keep an eye on for sure here. But
Oh, I don't think there's any question that he's in the mix.
yeah,
Um, I'm bullish on him because he's 25.
correct.
Like I look at goalies, I'm like, where are they at 29, 30, 31, 32? Right? So he's got some room to grow. I know he's got some people in the market that aren't his biggest fans. They're entitled to,
Everyone's
their
entitled to
opinion,
their own opinion, as you always
right? But he didn't get a great start to the year again. Um, Sometimes it's difficult to simulate NHL speed out of the gate. To me, that's been 2 years. Like, that's the thing that people need to remember. Like, we're sitting last year on November the
think is the
11th was the Saturday,
correct.
and the Oilers were 30th, 30th, and 30th. 30th in penalty killing, 30th in goals against, and 30th or worse in save percentage. So, you know, again, if they take care of a little bit of business here over the next few games, and they've outscored Pittsburgh 33-9 in the last six matchups. Like McDavid has absolutely annihilated the Penguins. He's like plus 14 with 27 points in 13 career games, and Sid's minus 12 in those games. Um, but Skinner's it is interesting that Tristan Jarry and Skinner both had tough starts to the year
Mm-hmm.
because they're both from the same goaltending tree. That's sort of head placement, minimal body movement, tracking, blocking, finding the puck. And you're seeing more side to side goals. Players have more skill today. The Penguins sent Jari back. They got him under contract. He's not cheap. Like
No.
he's got the Jack Campbell deal. I'll be very intrigued to see what Kyle Dubas does there. In Skinner's case, he's got to be the guy. Like he knows that.
Yeah.
Probably in a perfect world, he plays 55 to 59 games, and then they need Picker to be solid. So I'd say first couple games, the goaltenders weren't great. They've been better since.
And I
Is
think
that
it's somewhat of yeah, and I think it's fair because I think this is as we think at times this league's somewhat of a copycat league. Look at what Toronto did last year with Samsonov. Now he went on waivers. Now Tristan Jarry hasn't done that, but they keep the third goaltending rotation in the system, so he can go back to Pittsburgh, work on his game, kind of reset him a bit. I don't know if the Oilers are in a situation that they want to do that with
well,
Skinner.
they didn't really, just so you know, they didn't really do that with Benares finally scored.
Yes.
There you go. There's a guy that hadn't scored his first seven games, and he's
Yep.
got the goal tonight. Um, and he just signed a massive deal in the sevens.
Yep.
Like Jack Campbell they didn't do what Toronto did, right? Like Campbell went down and played
Correct.
and frankly, got lit up a couple times, and it wasn't pretty. So I think it makes sense what I saw Kyle Dubas at the Hlinka Gretzky. I don't think he's in town for for these games here, but I understand it made sense what they did there with Jari. Skinner's just I think Skinner's got more pressure on him than Jari does, to be
Yeah.
frank with you, because I think there's greater expectation out of Edmonton. With all due respect to Sidney Crosby and Malkin and Chris Letang, there's way more expectation for what the Oilers are supposed. I mean, here's the thing. You love the Leafs, right? You're a Leafs partisan, a Leafs
Yeah.
fan.
Yeah.
The Oilers get an incredible amount of oxygen in the room. They have the most dynamic player in the world in Connor McDavid. They've got the highest scoring team in the last 2 years. it's coincided in a time in which they've had some inconsistent goaltending.
Yeah.
So you end up with entertaining games. You look at that Battle of Alberta series, and what did Pete Blackburn call it from What Chaos? He called it the Cocaine Circus
Yeah.
series
Yeah.
because you never, right? Like the Oilers are an exciting team to watch, and because you have the two top scoring players in the league in the last 7 years, you're going to get a lot of attention.
Hmm.
And so with that comes scrutiny. And a pro learns how to handle that and understands that it usually isn't intended to be personal. And the best players, just like the best broadcasters, just like the best lawyers and the best doctors, the best people are most critical of themselves, Josh.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right? They're like, all right, how do I get better? Geez, I didn't handle that situation the right way. I made the mistake there. And the only difference is we're in an industry where you're privileged enough to broadcast games in the NHL where you got, you know, 18,500 fans at the games at Rogers Place that know the game. They're knowledgeable and they're critics. And you got to be able to have thick enough skin to deal with it. So with Skinner, I think it helps that he's from Edmonton. I think it helps that he's grown up here. I think he's going to continue to improve. I think his glove handle will get better in time. His puck handling will probably get a little bit better. And I'm not saying he's ever going to be Mike Smith,
Yeah.
um, but he has a chance to be really good.
Yeah. Where are you at with the penalty kill here too?
Not good enough.
Yeah. Is there something you're seeing that's changed? Obviously, personnel is different, but is there something else that you're seeing that needs to improve in your aspect of, obviously saying not good enough, but where can the improvements happen? Is Noah Philp the fit to help change? Is it a more of a adding someone like him with the face-off presence that he has, the size, the knowledge of the game? Because it looks like he can be a player that can help that
He's
penalty.
got to get some more ice time down in the minors. He didn't play last year.
Yeah.
I'll be let's preface this by saying, let's take a look at what happened here. So Dave Tippett came in with Ken Holland, and Dave Tippett and Jim Playfair coached the team. And Jim Playfair played Ethan Bear and Caleb Jones ahead of Evan Bouchard. Think about that now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if Jones and Bear are in the NHL. And
Caleb Jones is, Ethan Bear is not.
right. But so Caleb Jones is a 6'7" D man. Evan Bouchard finished fourth in defense scoring last year and is the third highest scoring player in the entire National Hockey League the last 3 years in the playoffs. And where I'm going with this is I think you have to have an organization where, like, who's ever in charge of hockey. So in Edmonton's case, it's now Jeff Jackson, Stan Bowman, who's the day-to-day guy that's the GM, the assistant GMs, the guy, Chris Knobloch and Paul Coffey at the NHL level, and Colin Chalk and Keith McCambridge at the AHL level with Keith Gretzky. They all got to have the same, these are our high-end guys. We got to play them. And I'm going somewhere with this,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So at one point it was Baron Jones ahead of Bouchard. Then it became Desharnais ahead of Broberg and Kesselring. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Now Desharnais did a good job suppressing shots in the penalty kill. Is he a better defenseman right now than either Broberg, who's basically playing first pairing minutes in St. Louis, Kesselring, who's playing second pairing minutes in Arizona? Desharnais got scratched. He got beat out at the start of the year by Noah Juleson,
Yeah.
right? But I do, I think, the one thing Desharnais did is he was a good shot suppressor. He helped on the PK, right? He blocked pucks getting slid through the crease. Then you have Cody Ceci, who I personally believe was a vastly underrated player in oil country. Josh, like I don't think he got enough credit for how good of a player he actually was.
Yeah.
He was just solid. Like he was solid for the Leafs, he was solid for the Penguins, and he was solid for the Oilers. But they had some cap complications because they weren't sure what was going to happen with Evander,
Yeah.
right? And they had to get creative there. So I think they've missed on the back end. I think they've missed Desharnais and they've missed Ceci. Obviously, they've missed Broberg. So now they're breaking in some new killers, especially on the right side, because Ekholm and Nurse were killing last year. And then up front, I'll be honest with you, the first few games, some of their forwards were taking the wrong routes to pucks.
Correct.
And then who do you need to back? Like in the first I think it was the first 2 games of the season, the Oilers did not have a save. Maybe it was the first 3 games. They didn't have a save on the penalty kill. Not
Mhm.
a save.
Yeah.
Like there was 5 power play goals on 5 power play shots. So you need a little bit better than that.
Yeah. I know we did this experience before, but I wonder if Matt Benning's a guy you maybe bring back. His best time was in Edmonton. Um, I know it's kind of happened before, but
What's he got left? 2 years?
this year and next year, around $1 million. I think it's 1.1 million.
I thought it was more than 1.1. I thought he was like a 1.25 cap hit.
Might be around that. You might be right. Yeah. It's I know.
Well, I mean, but I'm looking at Emerson and I'm thinking he's a third pairing guy, and that's what Benning would be.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
do, Benning he's a smart player.
He is. Yeah.
Like he can think his way around the ice.
You
He's
know,
been a little bit banged up the last couple of
yeah,
years, eh?
and he's coming off two surgeries. I know that, a knee surgery and a hernia surgery. So
Those hernias are those are tough surgeries.
yeah. So he started the
So I
season.
bet what you're telling me is you want the Oilers to go out and get Carconi and Benning.
It's kind of what I'm saying, Bob.
Start the rumors now, eh?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, I'm friends with Matt, so obviously
I know.
so
He's
he's a big.
solid. He was a solid Oiler. Again, like CC, he was a plus player every year.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So
like, I think he was, in fact, I don't even have to look this up. You can check this later. I think he was plus 32 in his 4 years at Edmonton.
he was, yeah. Yeah. And he was
There you go.
yeah, he was a minus in his 2 years with the Preds, and then obviously he had a career high in assists with San Jose the year Carlson won the Norris. They were
Yeah,
getting
well, the guy that played a lot with Carlson that year, the first 2/3 of the year was Magna,
yeah.
right? And I kind of think Marc Lajoie, who's playing at the U of A, could be a bit like Magna, like a
Right.
big, rangy 6'6" left shot guy, not super physical, skates better than people thinks, can distribute the puck, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Let's get a quick rip on the Flames here. Obviously, you got to see them once this year, and you guys will get to see them in a couple of, I guess, a week, almost 10 days here coming up on the 3rd of November. You'll be back in Calgary on another Sunday game, which is weird that they play 2 games on a Sunday here, but they only play each other 3 times this year. But we're credited through the media there. We have a media pass with the Flames, and
you got them fooled, eh?
good, yeah. Hey, Peter Hanlon's a a good guy.
He's a great guy.
Sean Kelso too. They're a great organization, as you know, and every organization, National Hockey League is very very well respected and all that. But the Find Away Flames, and it kind of this team kind of reminds me of the team that was the 2014-15 team back then when they went to the second round of the playoffs. The Find Away Flames, and a lot of that didn't really transpire until later on. They lost Giordano; he got hurt in New Jersey, and that was late in the year. Weidman and them had a really good year, but I just wonder, are you believing what they have, or is this kind of a flash? And then, obviously losing tonight against Carolina, a really good team, and they got Winnipeg on Saturday night, so they got some tough games coming up here. But you saw them firsthand. Were you surprised?
Here's what I think. You know how Nashville's had a slow start, but they got a lot of talent. They're a little bit older.
Correct.
And Edmonton's had a slow start, but they got talent. They're older. I think Calgary had continuity,
Yeah.
right? I know they lost Markstrom and I know they lost Mangiapane, but Craig Conroy, their GM, worked for years in that organization. Brad Pascal's worked for years. Ryan Huska worked his way up. They know what they have.
Mm-hmm.
And they also know that they need everybody going to be successful. Um, I could be proven to be completely wrong, but I think it would be a little premature at this stage to say we 100% know what we have with Dustin Wolf. Now, maybe in today's game, it's more about the athleticism and quickness of goaltenders and less about the size.
Yeah.
Based on his numbers in junior and his numbers in the American Hockey League, he's tracking to be a pretty decent NHL goalie. But smaller goalies can get picked apart by the shooters at the NHL level. So you start in goal. Anderson, I've liked Rasmus Anderson since he took the fight with Darnell Nurse in the rookie tournament in Penticton in 2015. He didn't cower away. He got beat. They'd sent Hunter Smith to get Darnell in the first preseason game in Calgary, and Darnell broke his face in that fight, and
Mhm.
Hunter Smith was legitimately tough. But Rasmus Anderson has some game, and he's been, a 40 to 50 point scoring defenseman, and he's had a wonderful start. Mackenzie Weegar's a good defenseman. So they got a couple legit top three defensemen there. Weir performed like a number one last year.
Mhm.
And then they got some other,
Server.
Miramanov was physical against the Oilers in that game. Um, they
Yep.
got some guys with some dimensions. And then you look at, they still have Backlund. He plays like a beast against Edmonton. Kadri's a highly competitive player. Zari appears like he's coming. Um, Huberto's had a great start to the season, but they know what they have,
Yes. Yeah.
right? They're not feeling their way through the start of the year because like they knew what they were. So I think they're in an okay spot. I know there's some people, maybe at the start of the year, I thought, well, they'll probably be bottom 10 teams in the league. My guess is they'll be in that middle, sort
Yeah.
of somewhere between 10th and 20th, but I wouldn't rule them out for making the playoffs. Why not?
Yeah.
They've had a good start to the year.
You get off to a start like that, it kind of helps you out throughout the rest of the
Huge.
season for sure. Yeah, you got 20 minutes here to go to see if they can find and scratch and claw to get some more points. Just the last thought on Brad Marchand's comment stuff. I know you probably respect what he had said and that interchange between him and his head coach and
Well, recap it for me.
yeah, so obviously he had a turnover that cost him the goal, cost him a goal. The Utah went and scored after the goal. He was on the bench, and they kind of had a conversation. Not Montgomery went at him, pushed him, kind of interchange in a way of maybe an FU match, which is okay. Obviously, we saw that last night with John Tortorella and Nick Seeler, and I know you like Nick Seeler. Tortorella said, "Hey, that's what I love the guy, and we're going to do that." Berube had the same thing with Matthews and Marner tonight. So we're seeing a little bit of a trend here. But Marchand made the comment of we're getting a little too soft here. And I thought it was interesting because Sutter was on with Mike Fuda earlier this week on his show, and he had talked about that Sutter misses the game, but he doesn't miss the games. And then he made also a comment too that talking to his brother Brent that the game's changed in a way that the parents, the agents are running the locker rooms nowadays too. And obviously Marchand's comments were we're getting a little too soft, we're a little too sensitive. Do you have appreciation for the fact that he had said that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So do you want to elaborate more? Like, or do you appreciate obviously the fact that like
Well, let's just say,
he
like,
pretty much said if he doesn't,
Josh, I got
yeah,
I
yeah,
got at least 25 years on you, don't I?
correct. Yeah,
What
I'm
are you,
40.
early 30s?
I'm 40. So
All right, 18 years on you. Okay. Um, I remember Wes Montgomery pushing me a bit when I was younger. He's like, look, you got an unbelievable recall, great memory, lots of knowledge. You've obviously loved sports. You know a lot about sports. You got a good voice. And when you want, you can turn the charm on, which will help you in sales down the road. So you got to be tough. Got to be tough because you're going to get derailed. It's not going to happen automatically for you
yeah.
because you are opinionated. And when you're opinionated, not everybody's going to like you, even though you might be harder working than the average dude. And so don't let yourself get derailed. We kind of hit on it a bit. We talked about Bouchard. Bouchard had thicker skin and was tougher than people give him credit for because of what you take a look at his career trajectory in Edmonton. You get drafted as a 10th overall player. I mean, how lucky were the Oilers to get him 10th? Detroit took Zadina 6th in that draft year,
Yeah.
passed on Quinn Hughes at 7. Chicago took Boquist at 8. But again, Bouchard had to wait. Jeff Jackson, his agent, had to wait. And at times I couldn't understand why, like, if I was the family or the agent, I would have been like, what is going on here? Like, you know what I mean? And then you look at what happened with Broberg. Up and down seventh defense. He finally gained some traction. I went to Bakersfield last year with Ken Holland. And again, Ken had the second best record in the West in his 5 years. The Oilers played the second most amount of playoff games in the last 3 years. Those are the positives for Ken. But his two best prospects, Holloway and Broberg, aren't with Edmonton anymore. And there was a breakdown in the relationship with Broberg. And Ken had 5 years with Broberg.
Mhm.
Now, some would say, well, Broberg's camp, his family, and Darren Ferris, his agent, I'd say good, if the agent went out and found the deal, and St. Louis paid the piper. Part of the reason St. Louis was able to do that is they didn't have a great free agency. So they had the financial cap space to do it. So I'm saying you got to work with today's player from day one. You have to work with the agents from day one. You have to build rapport, build relationships. The player needs to know that they're being supported. One of the biggest areas of upgrade for the Oilers, there's two things that have happened in the last basically calendar year. Number one, they hired Michael Parcati to be a full-time analytics guy. Okay. I interviewed Eric Tulsky 2 nights ago.
Yep.
I started doing color for the Oilers in '08. He started writing a blog on the Flyers in 2012. He's an NHL GM now.
It's crazy, right? Yeah.
I've been telling the Oilers about players. Sometimes, guys, I would say Stan Bowman to this point probably is most open because you're looking at the situation Edmonton's in. They're going to be trading draft capital to add to improve in some couple areas of weakness on the team. So they're not going to have those picks. So they're going to have to replace those picks with players. So where do you find those players from? But I do think when you do draft players, you got to work with them from day one. You got to recognize today's kids different. The agency they've got a job to represent the interests of the family and the players as well. It comes with the territory.
Well, I
If
think you
Daryl's,
touched on a really good stuff. Just to interrupt you there real quick, like you know how to find players for free in terms of picking them out throughout a group. There's a history and a long history with you with this organization and even other organizations in the NHL, knowing you work for the Edmonton Oilers. There's players that you've seen throughout your travels.
Yeah.
The last 50.
I can tell you a couple of years ago, at the start of the year, I was in on Nick Paul, Connor Brown, Mason Appleton. Mason Appleton was in Seattle. Nick Paul was in Ottawa. Connor Brown at that time was in Ottawa. It's before he went to Washington. Appleton, Seattle wasn't playing him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy is a third liner all day. And basically somebody said to me, find us a guy at 1.2 million or under. And those guys, I think at that stage were maybe Brown was a little bit more because he'd had a couple 20-goal seasons by then. But that's what you're looking for. You're looking like how expansive, like you've suggested Carcone.
Yeah.
And so I might think they might need a little bit bigger body than that I think the Oilers aren't as fast at forward and aren't as physical. They miss Evander Kane.
Oh,
Now I mean, I feel bad for Evander, the combination of the wrist surgery and then how badly beat up he was last year. Right? We didn't. So I'm hoping that he can come close to, because he's a real good athlete, right? I'm hoping he can get back to where he's at. But I know this, the Oilers are going to be moving picks. And so they have got to be exhaustive in finding players like the Calgary Flames flew Craig Conroy and Brad Pascal to Wolfville, Acadia to watch Noah Philp play. That's commitment.
Yeah.
Like Brad Treliving let his number 2 and number 3 guys go evaluate the player. And Edmonton got lucky to get him because he's Edmonton's best. And then they traded for Savoy, who's there's like Savoy long-term and O'Reilly are probably have higher ceilings than Philp, but Philp's closer right now. So to answer your question, today's kids are different. You need to recognize that. I'd had no problem playing for the Sutters. And if I had grown up around the Sutters, maybe I'd play because that would have been mentally tougher. All I will tell you is the reason I think I know forwards is because I know why I failed.
Yeah.
Right? Like
a lot. Yeah.
I could score a little at 14, 15, 16, but I know what I lacked. And I can identify it when guys have it at that age. And it comes down to competitiveness, drive, and a willingness to commit to improving nonstop.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that. But you can see that at times with kids when you're watching them play.
Yeah, it's Warren Fogle having a night for the LA Kings in their home opener tonight too. 2 goals already for him.
Good for him.
Yeah. Weird night for former Oilers beating up on some teams that I'm kind of cheering for, but to Foley on the Sharks and betting on the Sharks. Benning 3rd game in a row healthy scratch. So I wonder if that's something to keep an eye on. But But yeah, they're trying to get some youthful players in the lineup. But yeah, no, you said it well there, Bob. I don't know how much more we need to go on to that, but
It's a
it's
different time.
it is for sure. So well, all the best to you. I know tomorrow night will be a big night during the game, and obviously after the game, and two great people, and Mac T and was it Randy Gregg getting inducted into the Oilers Hall of Fame. So that's
Yeah.
going to happen post game. Are you looking forward to that? And are you being
Yeah, well, I'm on the selection committee. They are from the Oilers' 80s glory days. The
Yep,
one thing I'll say about both guys is I have a tremendous amount of respect to people that commit in our market. And
they give
Randy's from here. Um, he'd be the first to tell you he's a pretty good athlete. There's a guy named Terry Daniluk that he grew up with, who was probably a better athlete than Randy. He was on the Canadian Olympic team in volleyball. I mean, I saw him throw a football one time about 60 to 65 yards in front of Gizmo Williams in the Butterdome. And he turned around and goes, "Who is that?"
yeah,
And Terry was like 45 at the time when he did it. So this is back, maybe he was in the late 30s, but recruited in baseball, recruited in track, recruited in football, recruited obviously in volleyball. Uh, and Randy's a special, like, five-time Stanley Cup champion, two-time Olympian, very humble guy, right? Very humble guy. Not a lot of guys can work in their residency while they're playing in the National Hockey League. And then for Craig McTavish, he too is committed as I'm flattered that he wanted to do our show
correct, yeah,
and be on our show once a week on MACT on Mondays. We have fun with it. He's gone from probably disliking me the most of the media to,
loving you
well,
the
not quite disliking me as much.
yeah.
But no, it's gonna be a fun night. It should be a great game. I have nothing but utmost respect for Sidney Crosby and Jenny Malkin and Chris Letang and the Penguins. So it should be a fun night. And we'll see where the Oilers go. And you can reach out at any time.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Bob, and I know the guys at Shadowfied are looking forward to probably possibly seeing you again.
In a couple of weeks, yes.
Exactly. All right. Well, Stoff, take care. All the best. Have a great weekend and continued success. And good luck to the Oilers along the way. And we'll catch up with you in probably about a month's time. So I'll reach
All
back.
right. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Josh.
Huge thanks to Bob Stauffer from the Edmonton Oilers for joining us again. It's always great to connect with him. Usually at the end or the start of a month, and things have been going on pretty crazy for the Oilers, so I thought it'd be a perfect time to get him on and break some things down and go over a few little things. But again, thanks to Staff for joining us. It's always a pleasure having the voice of the Edmonton Oilers on our waves here at the 2 Months Podcast. So thanks to him. And then, yeah, thanks to everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button, hit that like button on YouTube. Follow us on all our social media platforms. We are giving away 4 sets tickets to the Edmonton Oilers Calgary Flames Battle of Alberta November 3rd. So you can see that on our social media channels. So follow along to that. Follow us on one of 2 of the 5 accounts that we have, or follow us on all 5 accounts that we have. Share, retweet that post either on Instagram or on X/Twitter. Kind of spread out the word, and we'll announce a couple winners pretty soon here. I think it's next Friday or so. We'll announce the next the wave of winners on the podcast here. We have a special guest that's going to do that too. So it's all the best to people taking their part in joining in that process too. So without further ado, that is it. I'm going to sign out. Appreciate everyone for supporting us along the way. And I know there's a lot going on, and we're tuning in, we're taking notes, and appreciate everyone kind of checking in and reaching out to us. So we appreciate all the love and all the support that we're getting from our Mutts fans. So thank you very much, everyone, and let's chat very soon.